My name is Brendan Mooney and I'm the CEO here at Kainos.
In 1989, Brendan Mooney, then a graduate software engineer, joined Belfast-based IT startup Kainos, a provider of expert digital transformation services. Brendan was appointed as CEO in 2001, and since then he's overseen remarkable growth for the company, including its listing on the London Stock Exchange in 2015, and now has a team of more than 2,000 people operating in 35 markets around the globe.
In terms of my story, it starts a little bit before Kainos. I'm going back to school. I was going to school in Coleraine in Northern Ireland. And when I was 14, perhaps turning 15, the school decided to teach computer science. So there I was, a 14 or 15-year-old boy given the opportunity to learn about computers, to start doing a little bit of computer programming as well. There's two really important events kind of happen in quick succession. The first thing is just to talk about the teacher. So my teacher was a lady called Mrs. McDonald. She was a really inspirational teacher, encouraged us to study around computer science. So I did my O-level and then A-level in computer science. So I finished school in Coleraine having done 4 years of study around computer science, and I went to college to study computer science as well. And the second, I guess, really important event was we bought a computer at home. So my dad bought a computer for the home for all of myself and my brothers and sisters. Although truthfully, I monopolised the computer pretty much full time. So I was going to school and learning about computer science. And I was come home in the evening and playing some computer games, but also doing some computer programming. And both those events kind of, in my mind, gave me the gift of my career. So the Kainos origin story starts back in 1986. We were set up as a joint venture between Queen's University in Belfast and the company we know today as Fujitsu. So while that was a kind of the formation, truly the company only starts when they recruit the first employee, my predecessor, a gentleman called Frank Graham. So Frank was brilliant. You know, he left a very secure job. You know, again, going back to 1986, we're still mired in the troubles. In Northern Ireland, there's less than 1,000 people in the technology sector. So Frank took the very brave decision of leaving that job and joining a startup called Kainos. And did an absolutely fabulous job in the 14 years that he was in charge. I think the principles that Frank established back at the very start kind of still hold true for us today. So whenever Frank was talking to us, I think about joining Kainos back from in college, it was, you know, first of all, if you hire great people, then everything is possible. The second thing is if you do high quality work for your customers, you'll have that customer for a long period of time. And the third thing he was very clear about as well was that you wanted to be a good company. So that was, you know, treat your people well, to be a growing company, to be profitable, but also to engage in your community as well. Kainos today is 2,500 people operating in 22 different countries. And we're probably famous for doing two things. So one is about digital transformation, and the second thing is about what we do with a company called Workday. So when we talk about digital transformation, we think about how do we help public sector, healthcare, or commercial organizations have a better digital presence and help them to interact with their patients, their citizens, or their consumers more effectively. So to give an example, in the UK Passport Service, we help the Passport Service deliver passports in less than a week to citizens who are looking for their new passport. In the world of Workday, so we work alongside the company called Workday. They're the kind of market leader in finance, planning, and HR software in the cloud. They are a $60 billion company today. We deploy their software for clients in the UK and Ireland, across Europe, and in the US. In Europe, we are the largest partner for Workday, and globally, we're in the top 10 in terms of partners by size. So the Kainos story starts off in Belfast in Northern Ireland, but from the very start, we always did work for clients outside of Northern Ireland. And yes, you know, most of our people started off here in Northern Ireland, but now we're in lots of different geographies. We are 2,500 people, 800 in the island of Ireland, 400 across Europe, 300 in North America, and 700 in Britain. So it has been a kind of evolving story. I think if you're starting a business today, you need to focus on what you can reasonably do in the short term. So that's often starting off with one or two customers or in a particular geographic region. But if you want to grow a long-term sustainable business, then you have to think about markets outside of Ireland. That could be into Great Britain, into Europe, or as many have done, into the US as well. But certainly starting off small where you can refine what you do, get feedback from your customers is important. But I think at your back of your mind has to be that global ambition to get out into large markets where lots of people will need your help. I've been in the technology sector, if you include school, almost 40 years, and today's kind of landscape has never been more exciting. Jobs are changing quickly. What we can do with computing today is changing almost on a weekly basis. So it's incredibly exciting to be launching a career today. And it's across a whole bunch of disciplines. So my background is around software engineering, but we do everything from user research and user design, the whole way through to how we help organizations change as they adopt the technology as well. So it's just a huge range of disciplines. So one of the things that struck me early on in my career is that whenever an opportunity comes along, it's just easier to say no. And I think the learning for me was always to say yes. So I got asked to take up a sales role, even though I was a software engineer and had no real skills in sales. I took on that sales role. I moved around as part of that. When I was asked to lead a division inside the company, I said yes to that. And when I was asked to succeed our founding CEO, I said yes to that as well. So I think that it's often easier to say no, but saying yes is often much more fun, much more challenging, much more exciting. We deliver projects to our customers as teams, and we run our business as a team as well. And that's just how we do things. We think it's the right way to operate. So if you're thinking about teams, teams are composed of people. So if teams are important to your success, then people become even more critical in that equation. So for us, we just put people at the heart of all the decisions that we make. So we want to hire the very best talent. We want to invest in their skills and develop their careers. We want them to be in the company for a long period of time as well. So to give some kind of statistics around that, in the last 6 months, 21,000 people have applied for a job at Kainos, and we offered about 320 as part of that. It's really important that we ask our colleagues how we're doing as a company. So what are we doing well and what can we improve upon? And they thankfully share that information all the time. And we formalise that once a year by asking them to fill in our engagement survey, which is run in conjunction with the Sunday Times Best Companies to Work For. So we first appeared at the top 100 companies to work for back in 2011, and we're still there in 2021. So in terms of induction, I do attend every induction session. Most Mondays, I join the new people who are joining the company. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's an important thing to do. It's easy to forget that somebody's first day in a new company is a big deal for them. So I just want to come along and to say hello, to welcome them, to thank them for choosing Kainos, because they could have chose a different employer. And then really just tell the Kainos story, where we've come from, but more importantly, where we're going to as well. And really to encourage them to ask any questions about the company that they want to ask of me during that session. So it's good fun. I get lots of very interesting questions, and I really enjoy coming along to say hello. So the thing I probably learned most over my time in Kainos is really just the importance of team. We operate as a team, but it's also about trusting the team as well. I think I joined a company of 26 or 28 people, and in small companies you get asked to do lots of different jobs, so you have lots of experience. As you get bigger, I think it's really important that you appoint or recruit people to run different aspects of your company. And whenever you do that, whenever you appoint a great person to run a part of the business, I think it's really important to let go of that, not to micromanage that person, and really trust that they will do a superb job. So I think the culture of any company, and certainly the culture in Kainos, is very important. We want to be very collaborative with one another. We want to share knowledge very willingly as well. So often that happens naturally. People want to join organizations that invest in their skills and their careers and development around that. But I think you also have to be watchful as well. There are times, perhaps whenever the organization is very busy or growing internationally, where some of these good practices might slip a little bit. So part of the job of any leadership team, and part of my job as CEO, is to make sure that we maintain kind of very high standards around the culture and the behaviours we expect of our colleagues. When we talk about digital transformation, we really talk about two aspects of that. One is about efficiencies, which is typically cost efficiency, and then the other aspect is about improved service. So there are really three phases in Kainos' history. The first phase, kind of the 80s through to the late 90s, was about building great software, mission critical software for Fujitsu's customers. So that could be things like the London Underground, their ticketing software, the Oyster card and paper card. That was something we were responsible for developing, or for Marks and Spencer's, helping them manage their staff across their worldwide stores. Then kind of through the 2000s, much more focused on kind of organizations' digital presence. So how could you make them more effective at interacting with citizens or with patients or with their customer base as well. And then as we head into the kind of the 2009, 2010, we focused not just on that idea of how do you do transformation for organizations, but also how do you embrace the very best kind of cloud technology, which is where we met Workday for the first time back in 2011. In terms of technology today, things move really quickly. If we look at our customers, they need their systems to change every week or every 2 weeks, sometimes on a daily basis. If you go back to kind of the 90s and early 2000s, systems would change very infrequently. Often systems may not change every year at all. So now we as customers, we as consumers, we as patients want to see things change quickly to better support us in terms of our needs. So if I kind of use an example, we built the new system for the UK government around passport renewals. So in the time before the digital service was there, it took about 6 weeks on average to get your passport renewed. And we all are familiar with the type of renewal process that's there. So you fill in a form, you get a photograph, you post it off, and eventually you get your passport back. So the new digital service gives you a passport in less than a week on average. It is now all done digitally. You upload your own photograph, you have your ID verified by another passport holder digitally as well. So for you as a citizen, you're getting your passport in 5 days, not 6 weeks. That's an improved service for you. It's convenient. You can do this any time of the day that you wish to do so. For government who provide that service, it's more cost effective as well. So they save £7 per passport with the digital service compared to their old offline model. And when you think about the number of passports that are issued, it saves £54 million a year in terms of providing this new digital service. So that's all about the efficiency, improved service in one example. I think that many of the conversations that we have start off thinking about cost efficiency, but increasingly kind of carbon efficiency is part of that conversation as well. So again, if I use an example, we have a government client with an office in Swansea in Wales. And anecdotally, they would say that almost half the meal that was going to Wales on any day was just going to that one building that they operated. So Wales is a nation of 3.1 million people, but half the meal going into the country was just to one location. So that's a really inefficient way to share information. So whenever we put the new digital service live, you're reducing that amount of postage that's arriving in Swansea on a daily basis. I think another great development about moving things into the cloud is that you're actually removing inefficiency around transport and around paper handling and things like that, but you're also concentrating all of your kind of computing resource in one place. You'll be picking a provider like Microsoft or Amazon, and they are constantly improving the efficiency of their services. So you're really concentrating the impact with them, and they can improve that over time. We're a carbon light business. We don't have heavy industry or manufacturing as part of what we do. So it's really important for us that we reduce our carbon emissions as a business, that we help our colleagues and our customers to also embrace their low carbon future as well. So we often have great conversations with our customers about how moving to the cloud can reduce their carbon footprint. There are still very many organizations that are still using paper or very antiquated processes to run their business. So they can get real performance improvement by going digital to make it easier for their consumers or their patients or customers to interact with them kind of 24/7 and in a global basis as well. So if you listen to Amazon, they talk about 4% of the world's workloads are now delivered from the cloud, which means that businesses are still using a lot of on-premise technology that can be improved by putting it into the cloud. When I was growing up, I didn't meet very many business people, but those that I did were often small business owners. They might be a shopkeeper, a kind of farmer, a coach operator, so small kind of businesses. And often they were family businesses. And one of the things that kind of I like about the family business model is that it often lasts for many years and is often multi-generational. I think for a technology company, it's much harder to have that same kind of long-term view. The typical route for a technology company is you start off, you get some success, you get a little bit bigger, and then you get bought by a bigger technology company. And often the founders that create that business and create that special business disappear, and the business that they create disappears inside that kind of global giant. So for us, back in 2012 and 2013, as we were thinking about Kainos' future, the idea of being bought by somebody else and seeing all the opportunity disappear really wasn't that attractive to us. And we also then were looking at these great people that were inside the company, the great customers we had, the kind of great opportunities to kind of build a global business. And we felt, why not kind of build that global business rather than be acquired by a global business? So that's what we set off to do. We wanted to be a global organization. And as we thought about the kind of planning around that, we felt a public company was the best ownership structure for us. And over Kainos' 30-year history at that stage, we'd experienced lots of different ownership models. We started off life as a joint venture. We had a corporate owner, academic owner, a financial owner at one stage as well. We were, for a number of years, kind of largely owned by employees too. We felt that actually to achieve our growth ambitions, we needed to be a public company. And kind of looking back on those conversations, I think we were right. When I think about those different ownership models, being a public company has been the most straightforward experience that I have had in my 20 years as Kainos CEO. And there's a huge amount of mystery, unjustified mystery around that kind of the IPO and being a public company. The IPO took 14 weeks. It is a busy period, but it's, again, straightforward is the word that springs to mind. And then in terms of being a public company and running our business, every 6 months, we go out to the market, we explain to our shareholders how we're doing. That takes us about a week to do all of that update. And then we get back to running the business. And then in 6 months after that, we go out and we give another update. So for sure, our experience of being a public company, it was easy to achieve, and it's been a very straightforward way to run our business. So one of the things I like about being a public company is that our shareholders, those pension funds that own shares in Kainos, expect us to run our business really well. And they let us get on and run our business really well. So that's super. It's very efficient. We spend all our time thinking about how we operate our business, how we can improve that as well. That allows us then, as we think about the long term, because again, our shareholders are very keen that we plan for the long term. We think about how do we develop new markets, either in our current locations or indeed expand geographically as well. So for us, we get lots of encouragement from our shareholders to think about growing our global business, and they provide the capital or investment if we need that as well. One of the really important considerations for us back in 2012 and 2013 about our company and the decision to become a public company was really just our ambition to do things well as a company, to kind of grow a global organisation headquartered in Ireland. So why not do it from Ireland? Why does it say that every big IT company in the world has to be headquartered in California or Japan or Paris? Why not do it from the island of Ireland? So for us, we wanted to kind of embrace the opportunity to go after it, to give it our best shot, and to build a fabulous global company. Belfast has been a great place for Kainos to be founded back in 1986. The talent that was in the marketplace then was super, and it has expanded over the years since then. From 1,000 people back in the mid-80s to over 33,000 people today employed by the tech sector. It's a very vibrant ecosystem to be drawing your talent from. So I had a wonderful time on the EY Entrepreneur of the Year program. I think that there's a number of different aspects to that. First of all, just meeting 27 other great entrepreneurs and hearing their stories and how they solve problems was just fantastic, and great to be having conversations kind of all the time with that group. I think there's a study program as part of the overall program, and spending time in Boston at places like MIT and Harvard to hear from absolute experts was again a really important, inspiring element for me. So to me, both those aspects of the program worked really, really well, and I was delighted to be involved in that back in 2016. And I found that the 500 people who've been through the program over the last 20 odd years are kind of really still well connected to one another, very helpful to one another as well. So if I was thinking about doing something in South Africa, I know I could reach out to some of my alumni colleagues and ask for their advice and guidance. And it's great to have that kind of expertise, practical expertise on tap at any time.